Hello again, everyone. Today we're going to be reading the story of the Steadfast Tin Soldier. I have actually never read this book or even heard of it before. So here goes. Once upon a time, there were 25 toy tin soldiers. They were brothers, for they had all been made from the same tin spoon. They wore fine red and blue uniforms and carried little guns, and they all lived together in a carved wooden box. The first words they ever heard came from a little boy as he lifted the lid off their wooden box. "Oh, look," the boy cried, "tin soldiers." It was the boy's birthday, and he had been given the tin soldiers as a present. Clapping his hands with delight, the boy set the tin soldiers on the table. They were all exactly alike, except for the one who had but one leg. He had been made last, and there had not been enough tin left to finish him properly. Besides the soldiers, the table was covered with all sorts of wonderful toys. The prettiest was a paper castle. This castle was so beautifully made that through its windows could be seen little rooms complete with tiny paper furniture and tapestries. In front of the castle, little paper trees stood around a small mirror that was meant to be a lake, and on the mirror swam tiny wax swans. All this was very lovely, but the loveliest part of the castle was a tiny dancer who stood in the castle door. The dancer, too, was made of paper. She wore a dress of white tulle. A little blue ribbon was wrapped like a shawl around her shoulders. This ribbon was held in place with a silver sequin the same size as her face. The little dancer's arms gracefully stretched out in front of her, and one of her legs was raised so high behind her that the little tin soldier could not see it. She must have only one leg, just as I do, he thought. How pretty she is. She would make me the perfect wife. Then he thought sadly, but she is far too grand for me. She lives in a fine castle, while I live in a wooden box that I share with my brothers. Still, I must try to get to know her. So the little tin soldier stretched out on the table behind a snuff box. From there, he could watch the little dancer. When evening came, the little boy put all the other tin soldiers back in their wooden box. Then the people of the house turned out the lights and went to bed. When the people were asleep, the toys came to life and began to amuse themselves. They visited with each other and danced and played all sorts of games. The dolls waltzed, the teddy bears played leapfrog, the colored pencils chased each other over the drawing pad, and the cuckoo in the clock sang a lively song. The tin soldiers rattled the lid of their box, for they wished to get out and join the fun. Only the tin soldier and the little dancer stayed still. She stood on tiptoe in the castle door and held one leg stretched out behind her as steadily as the tin soldier stood on his one leg. The little tin soldier stared at the little dancer, and she stared back, but neither of them spoke. At the stroke of midnight, the lid of the snuff box sprang open, and out popped a little red goblin. "Tin soldier," growled the goblin, "you will please remember to keep your eyes to yourself." But the tin soldier pretended not to hear. Then the goblin said in a nasty voice, "Very well, I'll take care of you tomorrow." With that, he disappeared into the snuff box. Early the next morning, the little boy came running into the room with his brother. They had picked up the little tin soldier and set him on the window sill. Now, I don't know whether it was the Red Goblin's doing or not, but just then a strong gust of wind blew the little tin soldier off the sill. Down, down the tin soldier fell, 3 stories onto the street below. It was a terrible fall. He landed headfirst with his gun stuck between 2 cobblestones and his leg in the air. The children and the maid ran outside to look for him, but they couldn't find him anywhere. That afternoon, it began to rain. It was a quick, hard rain that filled the gutters. When it was over, 2 boys came out to play. "Look," one of them cried, "there's a tin soldier. Let's make him a boat." So they made a boat out of an old newspaper. Then they set the little tin soldier in the boat and sent him sailing down the gutter. How fast the little paper boat went! How deep the water seemed! The little tin soldier could not help but being frightened, but he bravely stood as straight as he could and held tightly to his gun. Suddenly, the little paper boat was swept into a drain and down a dark tunnel. How black it is in here, thought the little tin soldier. Where am I going, I wonder? It is all the goblin's fault. Oh, if only the little dancer were here with me, then I would not care even if it were twice as dark. Just then, a large water rat swam up to the boat. Where's your passport? He hissed at the tin soldier. Give it to me at once. The tin soldier did not reply, but grasped his gun more tightly. So the water rat gnashed his teeth and howled, Stop him! Stop him! He hasn't shown his passport. But the little paper boat was soon carried away by the current. Now the soldier could see a light ahead. As the boat drew closer to the light, he heard a terrible roaring sound. It was loud enough to strike fear into the bravest heart. You see, the tunnel emptied into a canal. The plunge would be as dangerous for the tin soldier as an enormous waterfall would be for you or me. The little tin soldier was terribly afraid, but he stood as straight as ever and shouldered his gun. The paper boat tumbled down into the canal. It whirled round and round and filled with water. The tin soldier did not move a muscle. Instead, he thought of the pretty little dancer whom he was sure he would never see again. Then he remembered the words of an old military song. Farewell, soldier, true and brave, going toward your cold, dark grave. Finally, the paper boat dissolved in the water, and the little tin soldier sank. I'm going to end it there for today. Next time we will do part 2.